2 weeks later, for the first time since the blackout, hope had become measurable. Not theoretical, not experimental, not a promise. Real. The cure worked. Again, and again, and again. The little girl Selene had practically adopted remained completely healthy. Every test showed the same thing. No mutation, no relapse, no deterioration. The Dawn fruit seed formula had succeeded beyond everyone's expectations. The scientists had barely slept since. The breakthrough had triggered an avalanche of discoveries. By studying the cured child, they had finally understood exactly what Lord Rain's serum had been doing. The mutation wasn't creating a new species. It wasn't replacing people. It was trapping them. The serum forced the body into a permanent survival state while suppressing higher brain functions. The victim remained fully conscious, fully aware, fully capable of seeing, but completely incapable of controlling themselves, a prisoner inside their own body. The realization horrified everyone, especially Selene, especially Kenny, especially the people from the dead world. But it also revealed something else, a weakness. The Dawn fruit seed carried a genetic memory powerful enough to overwrite the mutation, and after hundreds of tests, Reach scientists had developed a delivery system, simple, efficient, safe, smoke grenades, small metal canisters filled with vaporized Dawn fruit seed compounds, completely harmless to ordinary humans, but devastating to the mutation. The moment it entered the lungs, the healing process began. Now all that remained was helping the rest. The shuttle descended through the atmosphere of the dead world. Kenny sat opposite Pines. Several silver canisters rested between them, each marked with bright green symbols. The cure. Pines stared at them, then laughed. You realize this is probably the weirdest mission we've ever done. Kenny raised an eyebrow. We fought in Eclipse. Fair point. Pines picked up a canister. Still, another grin. Weaponized medicine. The shuttle landed. The village looked even better than before. Kenny immediately noticed the difference. The roads were wider, the houses stronger, the farms larger. Children played openly through the streets. Fresh paint-covered buildings. Gardens existed. Actual gardens. Life had returned. As they stepped from the shuttle, several villagers waved. Others called greetings. Nobody looked afraid anymore. The transformation of the planet had become impossible to ignore. Then something collided with Pines. Again. The familiar little girl wrapped herself around his waist. Pines nearly lost balance. You know, he pointed down at her. This is becoming a habit. The girl giggled, then proudly handed him a brightly colored card. Pines looked confused. What is this? My birthday invitation. Pines blinked, then smiled. The little girl produced a second card. She handed it to Kenny. And that's for Aurora. Kenny accepted it carefully. Thank you. The little girl smiled proudly, then immediately sprinted away again. Pines watched her go. She definitely gets that from Aurora. Absolutely. The village leader approached shortly afterward. Aaron looked healthier than ever. Stronger, more confident, more like an actual planetary leader. He greeted both men warmly. Then his eyes landed on the canisters. That's it? Kenny nodded. That's it. Aaron stared. Years of suffering, years of fear, years of loss. And now everything rested inside a handful of metal cylinders. The man swallowed. I'll admit. He laughed nervously. I expected something bigger. Pines held up a canister. Most important things are small. The group began moving toward the mountain. News of their arrival spread quickly. People emerged from homes, watching, hoping, praying. Nobody followed them. Everyone knew how important this was. The entrance appeared exactly as they remembered. The giant energy net still covered the opening. Years of engineering, months of power reserves, still functioning perfectly. Pines smiled proudly. Told you it'd hold. Kenny looked inside. Darkness, silence, then strange noises, movement. The mutants remained there, waiting, trapped. The realization hit harder than expected. They'd been trapped for 2 weeks, 2 entire weeks. The cure needed to work. Kenny looked toward Aaron. You ready? The leader took a deep breath, then nodded. As I'll ever be. The canisters activated, one after another. Green vapor filled the magma tube. The smoke drifted downward, deeper and deeper and deeper. Then everyone waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then a scream. Not a monster scream. A human scream. Then another. Then dozens. The sounds echoed through the mountain. Pines immediately moved toward the controls. The energy net vanished. The entrance opened completely. Kenny looked at him. You sure? Pines nodded. If they change back in there. He pointed toward the darkness dot. The gas will kill them. Kenny understood immediately. The tube remained toxic. Mutants could survive it. Humans couldn't. The opening had to stay clear. Then movement appeared. A figure stumbled from the darkness. Then another. Then 10. Then 50. Then hundreds. The entire crowd watched in stunned silence. Bodies changed as they emerged. Claws receded. Faces shifted. Eyes returned. The mutations dissolved. People collapsed onto the grass, crying, screaming, confused, lost. Many looked around like they'd woken from a nightmare, because they had. Years. Some had lost years, others decades. Parents searched for children. Children searched for parents. Brothers, sisters, friends, lovers. The entire field became emotional chaos. And then Iran saw her, his mother. The old woman stumbled from the cave entrance, disoriented, weak, terrified. The moment Aaron recognized her, he ran, not walked, not jogged, ran. The entire village watched. The old woman looked up, confused, then froze, because she recognized him too. Not immediately. It took a second, then another. Then her eyes widened. Aaron? The man's composure shattered. Mom! The distance vanished. Mother and son collided, both crying, both laughing, both holding on to each other like they might disappear. The old woman touched his face repeatedly, almost disbelieving. You're older. Aaron laughed through tears. Yeah, another laugh. It's been a while. She cried harder. The village cried with them. Even Kenny felt his throat tighten. The old woman held her son. Her son held her. And years of pain finally began breaking apart. The scene repeated all across the field. Families reunited. Friends found one another. People discovered loved ones still alive. Not everyone. Some losses remained permanent. But enough to matter, enough to heal. Hours passed. The confusion slowly settled. The reality became understood. The torture was over. The nightmare had ended. The village eventually gathered around Kenny and Pines. The crowd stood quietly. Then one person started clapping. Another joined, then another. Soon hundreds applauded. Not cheering, not celebrating, thanking. The sound carried across the valley. Aaron eventually stepped forward. His mother stood beside him. Neither had stopped smiling. The leader looked toward Kenny. Then Pines. You saved them. Kenny shook his head. We helped. Aaron laughed. Fine. Another grin. You helped save them. The crowd laughed. The atmosphere finally felt light. For the first time, truly light. Aaron then straightened slightly, his expression becoming serious. There was something else. Kenny nodded. The house? Aaron smiled. The house. The villagers gathered closer, listening, waiting. Their leader looked proud in a way Kenny had never seen before. We voted. Another smile, and unanimously agreed. He looked toward the recovering people, then toward the green fields, then toward the mountains. The old world died. The crowd nodded. It deserves a new name. Kenny folded his arms. What did you choose? Aaron's smile widened. House Dawnfall. The crowd erupted. Cheers echoed across the valley. The name felt perfect, not because the world had fallen, because it had survived the fall. Kenny genuinely smiled. House Dawnfall. Aaron nodded proudly. The first house born from the dawn fruit. The crowd loved that. Pines loved that. Even Kenny had to admit, it suited them. Aaron extended his hand. When the time comes. He looked directly at Kenny. Will you speak to the Emperor for us? Kenny accepted the handshake. Absolutely. The crowd erupted again. The promise meant everything. Eventually, the celebrations began winding down. The cured people were escorted toward the PTSD clinics, toward counselors, toward rehabilitation, toward healing, a new chapter. Aaron walked at the front, his mother beside him. The former mutants followed behind, an entire population beginning life again. Kenny and Pines watched from the shuttle ramp. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The sight said enough. The engines activated. The shuttle lifted from the ground. Below them, House Dawnfall continued celebrating, continued healing, continued living. As the village disappeared into the distance, Kenny finally smiled. The mission had worked. The cure was real, and for the first time in years, an entire world had a future. Now all that remained was returning home and telling Reach that Lord Rain's greatest crime had finally been undone.